This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I'm done. Well, I'm still stuck here, but I think this place is just trying to make me have a breakdown now. Blood Freak is a slasher horror movie from 1972 with an anti-drug bent, directed by Brad Grinter. It follows a drifter named Herschel who helps out Angel, a girl who ends up stranded when her car breaks down, taking her home to her sister, Anne. Though they live together, the two have some animosity, as Anne spends most of her day smoking marijuana with her friends. Anne ends up seducing Herschel into smoking with her, and he starts a job on a turkey farm to earn money to support his habit. However, when he eats some chemically altered turkey meat, he has a bad reaction and passes out, waking up hours later with a giant turkey head in place of his own. Worse, he has an insatiable desire for drugs, but for apparently no reason at all, he can only partake of them through the blood of other junkies. If it weren't already apparent, this story is completely nonsensical, and yet it almost seems to do everything it can to play it straight. Despite this attempt at a narrative, there's very little flow between scenes other than the passage of time. It all just seems to be bits and pieces of the idea of Herschel's descent into drugs and his growing relationship with Anne, focusing on that with such a slow pace that you have no choice but to notice just how poorly taped together this story is. Not to mention how the characters seem to have about as much depth to them as a sheet of paper, which probably has their name and a 3-word description written on it in crayon. It especially doesn't help that the apparent hook of the film, that being the part where a guy kills people while wearing a turkey mask, only really comes into play in the last half of the film, and maybe even less than that, since there's a denouement that you only don't see coming, because even with a movie like Blood Freak, you'd expect a bit more than what they actually give. I almost feel like they try to turn things around on the audience by giving the story some religious theming, but obviously that falls as flat as everything else, and really just feels like a last-minute addition, if not a cop-out entirely. I don't even know if it's worth talking about the rest of the movie's production value, or rather its lack of such an effort. It's pretty clear how cheaply everything is shot, from most of the movie being set within 2 central locations, 2 bad attempts at day for night, assuming such an attempt was made at all. To even suggest that this movie has anything resembling cinematography or audio design would either be an insult to those elements of filmmaking, or it would accidentally suggest that they were ever given any consideration at all. It's amazing that any natural audio can be heard, and wasn't simply dubbed in later on in post-production. Overall, I think I'm repeating myself at this point when I say that Blood Freak is a waste of time. Its very existence does raise the question of why it was ever made, but that's probably best answered by the idea of sticking a guy in a turkey mask and having him slaughter people. And yet, the movie still fails to make the most of its own premise. Blood Freak. Brad Grinter, 1972. Half a star. It feels like it could work as a midnight movie, but it's just about noon here, so I won't make any excuses for it. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I honestly wonder if the anti-drug sentiment was added to try and score some more production money. Wouldn't surprise me if it all went right back into drugs, though.